Okay, we're coming up to Box Canyon State Park in southern Idaho. Okay, this is a box canyon. What a box canyon is, basically, you can see this is nothing but flat terrain, all laid down with volcanoes like 2,000 years ago, not recently. This whole area is covered in this dark basaltic layer of lava. Real runny, just flowed like a lake. So you had a huge lake of lava over all of southern Idaho. And what a box canyon is, it's a canyon with a river or a stream at the bottom. And when you come up to the head area, there's no outlet. This is where it starts. So there's no way out of the canyon. You're in a box. The question is, how was this formed? One option they considered was called groundwater sapping. In other words, when the spring, which is down there, came out of under the ground, it undermined the rocks, and the rocks fell from above, creating the canyon. The problem with that is there's no evidence of any boulders at the bottom here. And they also feel that since this stream is not strong enough to wash away all the boulders that would have come down, that's not a good theory. The number two theory is that during the huge Bonneville flood, a huge torrent of water came over this whole area. Down here to the left is where the Snake River is. So when that flood water plunged into the Snake River Canyon, which is like 400 feet deep, it started to erode this canyon that direction. And it kept eroding up this way until it stopped. Over here at the head, we'll walk over there in a second and see some evidence of that actually happening. By the way, that spring puts out 180,000 gallons of water a minute. Crystal clear water. You can see that's crystal clear water. Same thing over here. It's pretty amazing. But 180,000 gallons a minute. Okay, that little white stain over there is really not that significant. It's obviously just some local storm runoff, but it's not nearly enough to have created that box canyon. As a review of what the Bonneville flood was, that was a flood that released the amount of water to Lake Erie and Lake Ontario together, all in a couple of days. When an ancient natural dam broke, allowing the water to rush through this canyon. And it just played pretty good havoc on the landscape, as you might guess. The old basalt is hot. Luckily, there's low humidity. Okay, here's evidence that the scientists have come up with that the flood or heavy water did this. This area here in the basalt is really smooth, and you can see the striations going that direction. And the theory is that when the flood came in through here, that's what created those streaks and polished surfaces on these rocks. So they have some doubt that it's the Bonneville flood. It may have been another flood much earlier. But you can see another thing that you see in the bottom of these type of things. That's called a plunge pool. That depression down there. And there's one over here. So as the water flows over this ridge, hits the bottom, it causes turbulence, which scours out a depression at the base. So that's called a plunge pool. Another fact about these springs is there are quite a few in this particular stretch, and the water comes from the Idaho Sawtooth Aquifer. The water comes from the Sawtooth and the mountains to the east and north. And as the snow and rain and melts, it seeps into this fractured rock and gravel. And they say it takes like 200 years for it to percolate from when it's up in the mountains down to here. The reason it comes out here is that normally the Snake River travels a east to west course, but right in this section, the Snake River heads north, and that kind of intersects the flow of the aquifer, and that's why the water comes out at this spot. So that's what they say. That water. There's a place right up the road called Thousand Springs, which I may or may not go to. We'll see. Or you can get kayaks and go up. Apparently that water is like 53 degrees when it comes out of the ground, always. So it's chilly water. That's all. That super green is all vegetation under the water, but it's so crystal clear you can't tell it. I say that water's like 20 feet deep in there. 180,000 gallons a minute comes out. It just flows down into the Snake River. Crystal clear. I'm on a mile-long trail along the rim here. And hopefully we'll be able to get down inside that baby. Can't get over how much water comes out of that spring. Again, that's all subsurface water. Enter at your own risk. Well, what could possibly happen? A little tricky spot to start. That cable had a sharp little wire barb on it. That didn't feel too great. Okay. No blood, I don't think. Luckily I have my gripper shoes on today. It's called a talus slope, where the basalt breaks off and forms a gravel bar at the base of the cliff. And again, that's why the floods did so much damage. That basalt, when it cools, cracks vertically and forms those columns. And then when you get freeze wedging, cracks it even more. And then when a flood comes by, it can easily knock those chunks off, and they just domino effect right down into the bottom, and they get carried away, and you get a deeper and deeper canyon. Yeah, it's not too bad, really. A little rocky, but if you're paying attention and not taking video, it shouldn't be a problem. Well, you can tell they haven't had much rain. I guess it doesn't rain hardly at all in the summer. The dust is about a half-inch thick here. The canyon turns left up there. That's not a box canyon at the end. It goes left. Okay, this particular lava flow came from two shield volcanoes that were about 20 miles from here. You can see there were individual eruptions from those over the time. The way you can tell, top and bottom when you look at those layers of the basalt, where you see the bubbles, that is the top, where the hot magma laid and the bubbles rose to the top. And again, the body and the lower part are bubbleless. And again, sometimes you can even see if the bubbles arc, you can see the direction of flow. And here is the, I'm not sure if you call it a river, stream, I guess it'd be a stream. I'm heading toward a 18-foot waterfall. What have we here? Crystal clear water. Looky there. And that's all spring water coming out of the ground. "53 degrees. I think you would shrivel up a little bit to get that baby. You can see the trail's a little rocky. Going to be easier going up than coming down. I absolutely defy you to find any clearer water than that. I don't think water that comes out of our tap alone is that clear. It's unbelievable. Of course, it's been filtered. 200 years, I guess. Good 18-foot drop. There's a brave soul. Like I said, that water is 53 degrees. Another thing about this spring water, I'm sure in a similar situation, some genius saw this as an opportunity. Let's see, 180,000 gallons per minute. So you bottle it as Box Canyon spring water, charge $2 a bottle for 16 ounces or 12. Value for 16. Paid 2 cents for the bottle, and pretty soon you might make a profit. I'm thinking. There's some people hiking on the rim. It looks like a Girl Scout troop or something came by. So Box Canyon spring water, $1.99. I think that's better. 180,000 gallons a minute. That'd be all right. I'm not sure the purpose of this, but here's a pump. They pump water out. Looks like it goes over to this holding tank. And that communicates with satellite, I guess. What it tells them, I'm not sure. Of course, I noticed some genius. There's lots out there. Shot a hole in the tank. I looked on the other side and you can see where the billet went in, and that's where it came out. Ah, it's amazing. Of course, there could have been some run down in here too, but you know, they never miss. Well, I'm up next to one of the lava flows along the rim. And again, these came from two shield volcanoes. Several miles from here that just filled the whole valley with a thick layer of basalt in separate flows. Like I was mentioning before, you can tell this was one flow here. This is dense basalt, no bubbles, but then you get up near the top here and you can see these vesicles, which are basically bubbles in the lava. So that was the top layer of that particular flow, maybe, who knows, a week or two. And then on top of that, the next one and the next one, and this keeps building. And then rivers coming, cut their way back through. Actually, rivers and the lava have a constant battle. Everything goes to the low point. So when this hot molten lava comes out, it flows downhill, actually goes right where the rivers are, since they're the low point, and they fill up the river valleys, and then the poor river, it has to find a new path. And usually you'll see it around the outskirts of the most recent lava flow. So the rivers have had to change course over the millennia. Poor guys.